What is up, guys? It appears that time is running out on the ABK deal, and it's not running out for Microsoft, it's running out for the FTC, and we're about to discuss why right now. So let's be frank, it is currently 11:30 at night on July 10th, and we have received no information at all on whether or not the preliminary injunction is going to happen for the FTC. But according to Florian Mueller over on Foss Patents, things could be going a little bit differently, especially with the fact that it appears that the FTC's temporary restraining order that is essentially blocking the deal from happening has a little bit of an expiration date. Florian Mueller stated on Twitter, those who are needlessly concerned about the preliminary injunction decision taking so long that the deal can't close by the contractual deadline should consider the timing of Microsoft's notice to the FTC that triggered the temporary restraining order in the first place. Microsoft and ABK told the FTC that of June 16th, they might close anytime without further notice. As a result, the FTC needed a temporary restraining order no later than on June 15th, and it actually issued theirs on 2 days earlier on June 13th. If it had issued only on June 15th, and we don't count the Independence Day holiday, the temporary restraining order in accordance to Rule 65 could have been in place for 2 + 2 = 4 weeks, plus 1 day for Independence Day, and it still would have been in time for the deal to close under the contractual deadline. That was no coincidence. If the court wanted to keep the temporary restraining order in place for longer than 4 weeks, it would need Microsoft's consent. Now, we don't know what Microsoft's counsel discussed with the court over the phone, but even if they orally consented to something beyond the strict 4-week limit, I'm sure they didn't consent to anything that would jeopardize the deal just based on timing. Wow, that was a lot, but quickly broken down, it appears that Florian Mueller is highlighting Rule 65. And according to him, Rule 65 essentially gives the federal bloc the temporary restraining order that is preventing the deal from going forward, only has a 4-week time limit. And it appears that time limit is coming up here in the next few days. So could we potentially see Microsoft decide to once again force the federal regulators' hands by essentially trying to close the deal once that temporary restraining order expires, if the judge has not even issued her decree on allowing the preliminary injunction to take place? Now, obviously, if the FTC is awarded their preliminary injunction, the deal is completely done. But if the judge does not speak beforehand, will Microsoft decide to essentially potentially piss her off? That's a good question. We will have to just sit back and see. But speaking of somebody else who got pissed in their Wheaties, let's talk about the CMA. Of course, yes, they're still around, and yes, they are still trying to cause trouble. They actually went to Cat asking for a delay in the appeal proceedings, and guess what? Cat told them, no, denied. You will not get any delay of the appeal proceedings because you should have known. Cat actually told them that they should have known that Microsoft was going to appeal the deal because of just how dead set they were on wanting to get this across the finish line. So it's complete ignorance that the CMA was like, oh my God, we didn't know they were going to appeal the deal. Yeah, right. Even the cat saw through that one. And so they denied the CMA. And according to the article over on IGN, the UK government's Competition and Markets Authority request to postpone the appeal hearing for Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard was denied. A filing from the Competition Appeal Tribunal declared the CMA had ample time to prepare for the hearing and confirmed it would take place from July 28th to August 4th. So it appears that also the CMA is having their own woes of trying to combat Microsoft as well. And it doesn't appear that it's getting any easier because more and more regulators appear to be wanting to support the deal worldwide. It appears New Zealand has released their Keystone Report, which is outlining a little bit of a different story when it comes to resisting the deal between Microsoft and Activision. And according to the Keystone Report, where they were assessing Microsoft's incentive to engage in targeted input foreclosure in the New Zealand gaming console market, They were stated in saying, based on this evidence, we conclude that Microsoft would not have a financial incentive to withhold Call of Duty from PlayStation. So it appears yet again another regulator fed into Jim Ryan's arguments and just decided to concentrate on Call of Duty being foreclosed. And it just seems at this point, are we fighting for Activision or Call of Duty? It's getting completely asinine that literally every regulator is having to touch on the conversation of whether or not Call of Duty is going to be held back from PlayStation. It's getting absolutely stupid at this point. Like, seriously, we are putting up a worldwide regulatory debate over Call of Duty. Could you have ever thought when Call of Duty was first invented, when you would be like person from the future being like, hey, did you know years from now, there's going to be a worldwide debate on what happens to this franchise because apparently it is so damn important to gaming that literally life itself in the console gaming market, the PC gaming market, maybe a little bit of mobile, all hinges on Call of Duty. Just absolutely asinine. Moving on. Speaking of asinine, the FTC has also decided to get themselves in the circus spotlight once again, with chairman, the leader of the FTC, Miss Lina Khan herself, getting herself in some hot water with the United States Congress by not providing the documentation that they are asking for. And it appears that they are wanting to investigate Lina Khan and how she has conducted herself in the FTC. And also she has had numerous conflicts of interests in some of the cases that she has overseen, and that she should have excused herself, and let's just say she didn't. And Congress wants to ask her why, and she has also been asked to provide documents that she is refusing to give the United States Congress, essentially putting herself in a situation where the United States Congress might find the chairman of the FTC, Ms. Lina Khan, in contempt of court. Good luck, Ms. Khan, because at this point you have turned the FTC into a full-blown circus. So with everything like the FTC, the CMA, the New Zealand Keystone Report, and everything in between, both Microsoft and Activision have to be feeling mighty confident, especially Activision, because they did put out a recent tweet that appears that they might know something that they're not sharing with the rest of the world. And in the tweet, they showed Crash Bandicoot in a photo, and in the caption it says, "This is what pure confidence looks like, hashtag Crash Bandicoot." And of course, Miss Lulu Chang Maservi gives her comment down below. And it's actually quite comical that both Miss Maservi and Activision share the same kind of comedic entertainment that they love showing on social media for us to all enjoy. And it is very curious on what they just might mean on this is what confidence looks like. Because again, do they know something that we don't? Only time will tell us, and we are still looking forward to that whole decision from the FTC federal appeal judge and exactly if the FTC is going to be awarded their preliminary injunction. So here we are, guys, once again talking about the ABK deal. I know, but let's just point out that if this preliminary injunction is awarded, yes, these videos will probably more likely come to an end on social media, and life will relatively go back to normal with everybody talking about actual gaming rather than federal regulations. But let's be honest, if by some chance this preliminary injunction does not get awarded, we still have a little bit of a long road ahead of us, because we obviously have the CMA to still deal with, and it appears that they will get their day in court towards the end of July. And there is still the potential that even if the FTC doesn't get a preliminary injunction, they can still drag Microsoft into their administrative court in August. So there is still a little bit of a small inkling that this whole ordeal could still drag on for a few more months. And if the FTC does not get their preliminary injunction, Microsoft and Activision will have to renegotiate the whole contract ending date, the whole $3 billion stuff, and they might have to extend that date out just to deal with the CMA and close out the BS with the FTC. But if by some chance the FTC does get their preliminary injunction, it has been stated that both Microsoft and Activision will probably more than likely walk away from the deal, with Activision banking $3 billion in Bobby Kotick's pocket. So everybody, if you've enjoyed today's content and want to stay up to date on the whole drama of Microsoft acquiring Activision, or just get some good old-fashioned gaming information, Please like, subscribe, comment down below, all that good fun stuff that YouTube likes to see. Also, check out my end card here, explore my channel, check out my latest video. As you can also see, things are looking a little bit different around the channel because I'm wanting to update it and make it a little bit more fun for you guys. And as always, I need to always point out that the console wars, in my opinion, are a complete shenanigan. So therefore, you should always play the games you love on the platform you prefer, no matter what anybody says. I am Centurion 1307, and thank you for watching.